Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to lean in today, because this is a word for anyone who has ever looked at life and said, Lord, what is going on? There are moments when God's hand seems hidden, when his plan feels delayed, when his purpose looks blurry. But hear me today, God never moves without meaning. Everything he does has a reason. God is not random. He is not confused. He is not improvising his way through your life. He is a God of intention, design, and direction. Even when you can't to see the blueprint. Sometimes God's reasons are protective. He closes doors because he sees what you cannot see. And he blocks paths that would have taken you, places you were never meant to stay. That delay wasn't punishment. It was protection. Sometimes God's reasons are preparational. You're praying for the blessing, but God is trying to build the character to hold that blessing. Before he gives you the platform, he strengthens your foundation. Sometimes God's reasons are purposeful. What you call a setback may actually be a setup. What looks like loss may be the fertile soil for a future harvest. God specializes in turning the pages of your story when you thought the chapter was over. And then there are the reasons we may never fully understand until heaven. But here's the good news. You don't have to understand the reason to trust the one who has it. When God works, he works with purpose. When God delays, he delays with purpose. When God redirects, he redirects with purpose. And when God blesses, he blesses with purpose to shape you, grow you, and use you as a light in a dark world. So the next time life doesn't make sense, remember, God is not asking you to understand the plan. He's asking you to trust the planner. He is weaving every detail, every high, every low, every tear, every triumph into a masterpiece that will reveal his glory and your good. Because no matter what you're facing, no matter what you're feeling, no matter what you're fearing, you can stand on this truth. When we say that God never acts randomly and that his plans are intentional and purposeful, we are acknowledging something far deeper than a simple spiritual phrase. We are recognizing the very nature of God, his character, his wisdom, his sovereignty, and his perfect ability to orchestrate every detail of life with meaning. Nothing about his actions is impulsive or accidental. God is not guessing his way through your circumstances, and he's not responding to situations the way humans do, scrambling to fix things at the last minute. God operates from a place of complete understanding, eternal perspective, and flawless intention. When God forms a plan, he forms it with the beginning, middle, and end already in mind. Before you ever walked into a season, God had already determined how he would use that season to shape you, teach you, protect you, or position you. We often look at moments in our lives in isolation as if today's pain or confusion tells the whole story. But God never looks at a single moment. He looks at the entire picture. He sees how one conversation, one delay, one blessing, one disappointment, or one unexpected turn will fit into the larger framework of your destiny. God is the master weaver, threading every experience together in a way that seems confusing up close, but becomes beautiful when viewed from the perspective of eternity. This means that even the things that feel insignificant have purpose. A chance meeting, a random opportunity, a closed door, or a shift you didn't expect might be the very detail God uses to realign your life. He often works through the smallest threads, proving that no moment is wasted in his hands. What feels ordinary to you may be essential to him. God is never careless with moments. He is deliberate in how he allows events to unfold. And he does not overlook anything that touches your life. Sometimes this intentionality becomes clearer when looking back. You might remember a time when something didn't go the way you wanted. Maybe a job you didn't get, a relationship that didn't last, or a path that suddenly shut down. At the time, you may have felt overlooked or forgotten, but once you reached the next season, you understood why God didn't allow that situation to continue. His reasons didn't make sense when you were in the middle of it, but they made perfect sense once you saw the outcome. This is evidence that God's purpose is often revealed in stages, not snapshots. He doesn't always explain his plan, but he always executes it with precision. Even the seasons of struggle carry intention. God uses trials not to harm us, but to mold us. He shapes character in the furnace of difficulty. He develops patience, strength, resilience, humility, and deeper faith through the very challenges we wish he would take away. His actions in these times may feel painful, but they are never without purpose. He is working on the inside of you in ways you cannot see, preparing you for places he intends to take you that you cannot yet imagine. God's purpose also includes the good things in your life. Every blessing, every open door, every opportunity, every breakthrough is a sign, not accidental. God does not bless without design. When he releases something into your hands, it comes with intention. Intention to grow you, to steward through you, and to reflect his goodness in your life. His blessings always have a mission attached, even when they come wrapped in joy. So when life feels uncertain, when moments feel disconnected, or when your season doesn't seem to make sense, remember that God is not improvising. He is not reacting. He is orchestrating everything he does is rooted in purpose, guided by wisdom, and carried out with intention. His hand is steady, his plan is sure, and his motives are perfect. Nothing he does is random. When life places a closed door in front of you, it's easy to feel frustrated, confused, or even abandoned. You may pray, plan, and push only to watch the opportunity slip out of reach. But what often feels like rejection is actually God's protection. He sees dangers you cannot see, outcomes you cannot predict, and consequences you cannot anticipate. A closed door does not mean God is punishing you. It means he is shielding you. Sometimes the very thing you are begging God to open is the very thing he knows will break you. His no is rarely denial. It is often divine preservation. God is too loving to let you walk into a situation that looks good from the outside, but would drain you on the inside. He is too wise to allow your desires to override his discernment. So when you face a door that refuses to open, resist the urge to assume God is withholding something good. Instead, remember that he may be blocking something harmful. Delays operate in a similar way. They can feel discouraging, especially when you are ready to move forward, ready to grow, ready to step into something new. You ask God for acceleration, but he allows interruption. Yet, that interruption is not inactivity. God is doing more behind closed doors than you can see with open eyes. A divine delay is often God's way of aligning circumstances, preparing people, adjusting timing, or preparing your heart for what is coming. You may think you are waiting on God, but many times God is waiting on you to mature, to heal, to develop discipline, to let go of something, or to learn to trust him in a deeper way. God's timing is never late. It is strategically perfect. He moves at the rhythm of wisdom, not emotion. These delays also protect from premature promotion. It is possible to receive something good at the wrong time and watch it turn into a burden. God loves you too much to let you step into a room you weren't ready to stay in. He would rather grow you quietly in the dark than watch you collapse under a blessing you weren't prepared to carry. So he slows things down. He stretches your patience. He strengthens your character. He builds your endurance. And while you may feel stuck, he is developing the very qualities you will need when the door finally opens. Redirection is another form of divine protection. There are seasons where you feel certain about a path. Your plans are laid out, your goals are clear, and suddenly everything shifts. What used to make sense no longer does. The road you thought was yours becomes blocked, and God steers you in a direction you never planned. But God does not redirect without reason. He sees the potholes, the pitfalls, and the dead ends long before you ever approach them. He knows when a path leads to disappointment instead of destiny, and he intervenes to keep you from settling for less than he designed for you. Sometimes his redirection is confusing because it challenges your expectations. You may wonder why he didn't allow your plan to succeed, but later, sometimes months, sometimes years, you look back and realize that if God had allowed you to stay where you wanted to be, you would have missed what he ultimately had for you. His redirection is not an interruption of your purpose, it is the protection of your purpose. Even in the moments where God's reasons are hidden, his heart is not. Everything he blocks, delays, or redirects comes from his desire to guard your life, guide your steps, and give you what aligns with your destiny. Nothing he prevents is meant to withhold good from you. It is meant to preserve the good in you. When God closes a door or slows your pace, it is not because he is against you, but because he is ahead of you, clearing the path you cannot yet see. Before God places anything significant into your hands, he first works on the condition of your heart. Blessings carry weight, and God is not interested in placing a heavy assignment on an unsteady foundation. He understands that success without stability can become a snare, and influence without integrity can crush a person. For this reason, God often spends far more time preparing you than he does revealing the blessing itself. What looks like delay is often development. What feels like silence is often construction. God is shaping you into the kind of person who can handle what he intends to release into your life. Preparation seasons are rarely glamorous. They are often filled with repetition, discipline, stretching, pruning, and learning to trust God in places where the outcome is not yet visible. You may feel hidden, overlooked, or unrecognized, but God hides you on purpose. He hides you to grow you. He hides you to mature you. He hides you to protect you from the pressures you are not ready to face. A seed must be buried before it can rise. In the same way, God allows you to go through seasons where you feel unseen, because that is where roots are formed. Deep roots are necessary for high growth. Without the quiet, unseen development, the visible breakthrough would not be sustainable. God's preparation often involves refining your character. He may highlight areas in your life that need attention, pride that needs to be humbled, wounds that need to be healed, habits that need to be broken, or attitudes that need to be transformed. He shapes you through challenges that force you to grow in patience, faith, humility, and resilience. These qualities do not develop overnight. They are built through experiences that stretch your capacity and increase your dependence on God. When you pray for a breakthrough, God may answer with a process. When you ask for elevation, God may respond with pruning. He knows that true strength is built through resistance. Preparation also teaches you to trust God beyond your emotions. In these seasons, you learn to obey without full clarity, to believe without full evidence, and to move forward without full assurance of how everything will unfold. God uses uncertainty to strengthen your faith. He teaches you that your confidence should not rest in circumstances, but in his character. You begin to realize that the process is not a punishment. It is a classroom. Every challenge, every delay, every unexpected twist becomes part of your training. Many people want the platform but resist the preparation. They want the promise without the process. Yet without proper preparation, the blessing can become overwhelming. God's goal is not just to give you something, it is to grow you into someone. He's developing the wisdom, discernment, emotional maturity, and spiritual depth that you will need when the opportunity arrives. He refuses to rush you into something that would outgrow you. His preparation is evidence of his love because he knows the difference between readiness and desire. You may desire something deeply, but God waits until you are ready to steward it wisely. There are times when preparation feels like nothing is happening, but in reality, everything is happening. God is aligning people, orchestrating circumstances, and positioning resources you don't even know about. At the same time, he is adjusting your thinking, healing parts of your heart, and strengthening you for future responsibilities. When you finally step into the blessing, you will realize why he took the time to prepare you. The doors that once felt delayed will make sense. The trials that seemed unnecessary will reverend. yield their purpose. And the growth you gained in the quiet season will sustain you in the public one. God prepares before he promotes, and he builds foundations before he raises platforms. The process may feel long, uncomfortable, or uncertain, but it is essential. It is proof that God is not just setting up a moment, he is building a life. What you often call a setback can be the very thing God uses as a setup for his greater plan. Life has a way of presenting moments that feel like everything is falling apart. Opportunities disappear, relationships shift, resources dry up, and dreams seem to slip out of reach. In those seasons, it's natural to feel defeated or disappointed. But what if the setback isn't the end of something, but the doorway to something greater? God often allows temporary disruption to create long-term destiny. What looks like loss through human eyes can be preparation through divine eyes. God is not limited by your circumstances. He uses them. He rearranges situations not to break you, but to build you into a person capable of walking into the next level of his purpose. Setbacks expose what you might not have been able to see on your own. They reveal unhealthy attachments, misplaced trust, or hidden weaknesses that could sabotage you in the future. When you experience a setback, it may feel like everything is being stripped away, but in reality, God may be removing what would have hindered your progress later. He is clearing the ground so he can rebuild you with strength, clarity, and purpose. Just as a gardener prunes a tree, not to hurt it, but to help it grow stronger, God sometimes allows a reduction before he brings expansion. You might lose something today, but that loss may be the very thing that positions you for what he intends to add tomorrow. Setbacks also redirect your focus. When everything is comfortable and predictable, it's easy to rely on yourself, your plans, your abilities, and your expectations. But when a setback hits, it awakens a deeper dependency on God. It pushes you into prayer, into reflection, into surrender. It shifts your vision from the immediate to the eternal. You begin to see that God is not only concerned with your destination, he is concerned with your transformation. He uses setbacks to bring you into alignment with his will. They force you to release what you thought you needed and embrace what God knows you truly need. Sometimes a setback is necessary because you were aiming too low. You were settling for something beneath what God intended for you. You may have been comfortable, but God wanted to elevate you. And elevation often begins with disruption. You may think you lost an opportunity, but God saw that opportunity would limit you. You may think a door closed unfairly, but God knew that door didn't lead to the fullness of your calling. What feels like the end of your plan may be the beginning of his. He removes the lesser to make room for the greater. He allows the temporary to collapse so the eternal can emerge. Setbacks also build spiritual resilience. They teach you how to endure, how to rise, how to trust when you have more questions than answers. Strength is not developed on mountaintops, it is developed in valleys. You learn perseverance through pressure. You learn faith through uncertainty. You learn courage through adversity. These qualities are essential for the next level of assignment God has for you. Without the setback, you would not develop the strength required for the setup. God uses the very moments that feel like defeat to prepare you for victory. Later, when the bigger picture unfolds, you begin to see that the setback had a purpose all along. Had that situation not crumbled, you wouldn't have discovered a new path. Had that relationship not ended, you wouldn't have grown in the ways you needed. Had that opportunity not slipped away, you would have missed the greater opportunity waiting ahead. God knows how to turn what seems like a painful ending into a powerful beginning. He specializes in using the unexpected to guide you toward the unimaginable. So even when life doesn't go the way you planned, remember that God is not done. The setback is not a signal to give up. It's a sign that God is setting something up. What feels like a breaking point can be a turning point. What feels like a loss can be the preparation for a greater gain. And what feels like the end can be the birthplace of a new beginning crafted by God Himself. Trusting God when you don't understand His reasons is one of the greatest tests of faith. It is easy to believe when everything makes sense, when every prayer is answered the way you hoped, and when every step seems clear. But real trust is forged in the moments where clarity is absent. It is shaped when God is silent, when the outcome is uncertain, and when life feels confusing. These are the moments where faith must go deeper than explanation. You don't trust God because you figured out the reason. You trust Him because you know His character. And when you know His character, you can rest even when you can't trace His hand. There will be seasons when God's reasons remain hidden, not because He wants to frustrate you, but because understanding the reason isn't what grows you. Trust does. If God explained every detail, faith would have no room to breathe. He withholds explanations not to punish you, but to invite you into a deeper relationship with Him. Trust built on understanding is fragile. Trust built on surrender is unshakable. When you choose to believe that God is good even when life is not, you step into a level of spiritual maturity that cannot be shaken by circumstances. Trusting God without full understanding also means accepting that His perspective is infinitely greater than yours. You see the moment, He sees the whole story. You see the pain, He sees the purpose. You see the detour, He sees the destination. God's wisdom is not limited to your timeline, your desires, or your expectations. He operates from eternity, where every detail of your life is woven into a larger narrative. Just because you don't understand the why right now doesn't mean the why doesn't exist. God is never confused about what He's doing, even when you are. Often your understanding catches up later. A season that once felt chaotic suddenly makes sense in hindsight. You realize why certain people left, why certain doors closed, or why certain prayers weren't answered the way you wanted. You begin to see how disappointment protected you, how delay developed you, or how struggle strengthened you. What once felt senseless now reveals purpose. But even when the clarity comes much later, the trust you developed in the darkness becomes one of the greatest gifts God gives you. Trust learned through confusion becomes strength in future storms. There are also moments in life when you may never understand God's reasons on this side of eternity. Some experiences are too heavy, too painful, or too complex for earthly explanations. In those moments, God does not always offer answers. He offers Himself. He offers comfort when answers are missing, peace when reasons are unclear, and presence when understanding feels impossible. His presence becomes the reason to keep going. His nearness becomes the anchor for your soul. You may not know what God is doing, but you can know that He will walk with you through every moment of it. Trusting God without knowing His reasons also reshapes how you respond to life. Instead of reacting with fear, you begin responding with faith. Instead of assuming the worst, you start believing the best. Instead of panicking at the unknown, you rest in God's sovereignty. You learn to say, I don't understand this, but I trust God with it. That kind of trust tears down anxiety, silences fear, and strengthens your spirit. It becomes a shield against doubt and a weapon against the enemy's lies. Ultimately, trusting God when you don't understand His reasons is an act of surrender. It is choosing to believe that God is still good, still wise, still present, and still in control, even when life suggests otherwise. It is refusing to reduce your faith to explanations and instead anchoring it in relationship. When you reach that place, uncertainty no longer shakes you the way it once did. You walk with confidence, not because you know every reason, but because you know the one who holds every reason in His hands.